first inspired you to become a veterinarian?
Well, I actually became a veterinarian later in life. I was a high school math teacher for 5 years out in 29 Palms, California. And I had a rough fourth year and I wound up actually going to the shelter and getting a little puppy. I had her for only 3 weeks and then she literally died in my arms from a totally preventable disease called distemper. And it's part of that standard core vaccination that we give dogs, but out in a poor area, they don't necessarily vaccinate right away for these puppies. And so that was pretty traumatic. And then I wound up getting another puppy, oddly enough, her brother, her litter mate. And I wanted to learn everything that I could to make sure that that never happened again. And how do I keep him healthy and how do I keep him happy? So I started learning all about veterinary medicine as much as I could. And once I realized I didn't see myself making it to retirement as a teacher, I knew working with animals was what I needed to do. So then I changed my life and became a veterinarian.
I love doing these questions because it takes, yes, you're a doctor, but it takes the work doctor away from it and I get to see the person, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I love that. But I also love getting to know people. So, did you always know that you wanted to work with animals or did that passion grow over time?
So I always loved animals as a little kid. My dad loves to tell a story about how we went and visited a friend of his down in Tennessee when I was a little one and they couldn't find me. And he asked his friend, "Do you have any animals on the property that we don't know about, like that we can't see?" And he's like, "Oh, there's a dog house in the back." And sure enough, they go out to the doghouse and there I am in the doghouse with the dogs just hanging out. So I have always been drawn to animals. I've always just had a connection with them. And then whenever I went ahead and had that episode and want to become a veterinarian, that really kind of sent me into the science aspect of it rather than just the I love animals. But now I want to go ahead and figure out how do I keep not just my own animal healthy, but how do I help other people keep their animals healthy?
Were there any pets or experiences from your childhood that shaped your career choice?
So the biggest one would be that my dog that passed away from a totally preventable disease, watching, not being able to save her, not being able to do anything and knowing that it totally was preventable was heartbreaking. And it sometimes stirs something in you where you say, okay, I can't fix what happened to my animal, but I can go ahead and do everything I can to make sure it doesn't happen to somebody else's animal.
What was the biggest challenge you faced while in veterinary school?
As not what we call a non-traditional student. So, a lot of people go to high school and college. They know they want to be a veterinarian. They've always wanted to do it. And so those are similar tracks for those people. I was a teacher for 5 years. I quit. I had to go back to school. My undergrad was in mathematics. So I didn't have any of the science classes that were prerequisites to get into vet school. So I was living with my father. I'm commuting an hour each way to a local university to get my prereqs while working part-time, near full-time, as well as volunteering. I lived up in Cleveland at the time and I was volunteering at the Cleveland Museum of Natural History in their wildlife department. So I got to see some really interesting animals there. So it was a busy time, but it was necessary for me to be able to get into vet school. So, but once I made that decision, I knew it was the right path. It was what I was meant to do.
For a particular class, professor, or clinical experience that confirmed you were on the right path?
I would say my clinical year was the part that made it very solid in my mind that I was on the right path for me. The first 3 years of vet school are lots of, or at least back when we went to school, it's a lot of didactic learning. You're in the classroom, you get some hands-on stuff, but you're not really dealing with a lot of clients. You're not dealing with the patients. And when you have the opportunity to start to feel like the doctor and be the doctor, kind of gives you that, reinforcement that this was what I was supposed to do. There were actually clients that were reaching out to me after I was, their pets were discharged from the hospital and keeping in contact with me after the fact. So that was really important, knowing that in that short period of time that I interacted with that person, that I had managed to, make such a bond with them already and that they wanted to still keep in contact with me. The one veterinarian was like, "Where are you going to be working when you graduate so I can come to your clinic?" And I was like, "I don't know yet. That's a couple months out."
Did you ever consider another career path before deciding on veterinary medicine?
I didn't know what I wanted to do when I was a little kid. My mother wanted me to be a physical therapist. She thought that would be a good job for me. And I was one of those people that I was what you would consider a people pleaser. So she said you should be a physical therapist. So I said, I'm okay, I'll go and plan on doing that. And then when push came to shove and I had to actually apply to physical therapy programs, there weren't a lot. And one of the universities that I went to go check out their PT program, I actually really didn't like the school at all. And I told my mom I didn't want to go there. And she's like, well, what if that's the place you get into? And I was like, well, I won't go. And she's like, well, maybe you don't want to be a physical therapist. And I was like, maybe I don't. So that chucked that out of the window. And me staying in my people pleasing mode, one of my teachers was like, well, you're really good in math and I think you'd be a good teacher. So maybe you should be a math teacher. And I was like, okay, I guess I'll be a math teacher. So the next thing you know is I go to school, become a high school math teacher. I teach for 5 years. And it wasn't until I actually sat down and said, okay, enough of me figuring out what other people want me to be, what makes me happy. And that's when I realized that I am the happiest. I am the most myself when I'm able to be around animals. I have a connection with them. I don't know, they nurture my soul. And so that's when I figured out that that's what I needed to do for the rest of my life.
Love it. I grew up wanting to go into radio and did retail for a long time and then accidentally got into the optical field and became a licensed optician. And
Accidentally.
then
Yeah.
seriously, I started working at a sunglass hut and went on a vision clinic with Luxottica's nonprofit called One Sight and started doing the vision clinics in Atlanta. Got to go to San Diego and do a vision clinic. Fell in love with. I had never seen. I'm blind, but had never seen how a pair of
Oh, yeah.
glasses goes from here to here, and how I get to see through it.
Yeah.
And I got to go start to finish like the long route. I got to go
Yeah.
through the whole exam process, like help the kid go through the whole process, and then go make the glasses start to finish and put the glasses on the kid. And it was a similar prescription to me, and I'm very blind.
Oh, yeah. I'm negative 6.0 and 6.75. So,
7.
yeah, we're
7 both
good.
eyes. Yeah. Same team, but he had never worn
Yeah.
glasses before and was that prescription. And I was like, oh my God, I have to do this. So 5 years to the day, I was a licensed optician in the state of Georgia and then did that for a while. And then I lost Savannah and Sean and Zach lost their Maggie like weeks, like 4 weeks between each other. And we used different companies and compared our
Hmm.
stories. And Sean was like, hey, what do you think about this? And I was like, I think that's a great idea. Almost a year late, I think it was 10 months later. He's like, okay, you ready to jump on board? I'm like, let's go. Losing my
And this is
dog
how life
changed my,
happens. This is just
yep,
how life happens.
losing my little Savannah. So
Losing my
a little bit
Izzy.
of my
Yep.
history.
Changed my
Yeah.
life.
I got my little Savannah tattoo, a little boot and snoot.
Sweet little girl.
I
Yeah.
get to boot it whenever
My,
I want. And this has her ashes.
okay.
hmm I'm that person.
No,
Okay.
I don't wear it anymore, but I had my soul dog, Jake, who is Izzy's brother. His ashes on here. I need to get it redone, but I used to wear it all the time. And that was actually the indicator for when I got sick that there was something wrong with my hands because his
Oh, wow.
ring used to be loose on this finger. And then when it would be loose, because it was like a half size off, I would put it onto my middle finger and I couldn't get it over my knuckles. And I was like, there's something wrong here. It should go on that fan, and it's not. And that was like the physical evidence that there was something wrong with me. The
Oh,
doctors
wow.
still were just like, there's nothing wrong with you. You're fine. I'm like, thanks.
Of
Okay.
course. Of course.
Yeah.
Don't listen to me. I
Gotta
know my
love them.
body, but
Thanks,
whatever.
doctors. Yeah.
What do you love most about supporting families through end of life care?
Love the fact that I can use the 10 years that I was a clinical doctor to kind of help reassure them that they're making the right decision. So many families, they feel like it's probably time, but they need somebody to confirm that and to have that background to be able to walk into there and say, listen, this is what I know. This is what I've seen through my career. This is what I know to be true about these types of cases. It really is comforting for them. So I find that really helpful to be able to do that. And also some families, they just really want to, they want to talk. And so we will just sit there and we will talk through everything. I will answer every question to the best of my ability. Then there are others that they need somebody just to be there. They They don't want to talk. They don't want you to go ahead and explain a lot to them. They need you to just be there for them. And so that's the variety of what you see for each individual family. You have to kind of change what you do, just like you would in the clinic environment, where you have to change how you approach it based on their needs. And I love being able to do that for them.
How do you stay grounded during the emotional moments of this work?
For me, I always keep going back to the central part of why I am a veterinarian and why I came to Heartstrings is that I truly do believe it is my calling in life to help animals and their people. Once I kind of realized that's what I was put here to do, I found a way that I'm still able to go ahead and do that. I'm still able to help animals and their people. It's just in a little different way than the way I used to be able to do it. But it's still the fact that I just remember that's what I'm here to do is here to help. And that really is great during those moments.
What do you find most meaningful about providing care in home rather than in a clinic setting?
In a clinic setting, by design, it's going to be sterile. It's going to be kind of cold. It's not home. And that's what I love being able to do is to come into your home where it's comforting for the family. It's comforting for the animal. I believe in honoring as much as we can with these pets, all the love that they gave us, and being able to give them that dignified and peaceful passing that I think all of us want for ourselves. And I love that we're able to give it to them. So being able to be in the home does make it more peaceful for them. They don't have to go through that car ride that a lot of animals don't like, or if they're in pain, having to move to get into the car and get jostled about. Then you have to go wait at the clinic. There are so many clinics that do it really, really well, but it's still not home and they still have to get to the clinic. And those are things that even the best clinic can't undo those things. So I really do love being able to give that personal touch, to be able to give them that peace and be at home for it.
If you could go back in time, what advice would you give your younger self before starting this journey?
Don't know if I would really want to tell younger me to do anything different. Even though, it hasn't been easy to get where I'm at right now. It's definitely been quite a bit of a struggle, but I wouldn't change any of it because it's brought me to where I am right now. I love what I'm doing. I love being able to help families the way that I am. I love my life. So it's not perfect. Nobody's life is, but I wouldn't change it. I would say, hey, you know what? You just have to go with the flow and Icelandic phrase that I learned earlier this year when I went to Iceland, that reddest. It'll all work out in the end.
It that's
I have that tattooed right there, that reddest.
What's one thing you wish every pet parent knew about hospice and in-home end-of-life care?
I wish that everyone understood that the way that end of life care has always been doesn't have to be the way that it is going forward. It can be peaceful. It can be calm. It can be dignified for your pet. Everybody, always just was in the mindset of, okay, when it's time I call my vet and I have to get my scared, sick animal in the vet, in the car, take him to the vet. It doesn't have to be that way. It can be very calm. It can be very peaceful. And it can be, honoring all the things that that animal stood for in our lives to be able to give them that dignity at the end of their life.
Drew you to join Heartstrings Pet Hospice specifically?
So I joined Heartstrings because of Dr. Aaron Brown. So Dr. Aaron is one of my best friends from vet school. We went to Ohio State together, so go Buckeyes. And her and I have maintained close friendship ever since school. We actually met even before classes even started. Um, we became friends and we've been friends for we've been graduated for 10 years now. So she's the reason that I joined. Yeah. I told the guys, I'm like, she's my scar sister. We refer that's our nicknames for each other is scar sister. Cause I had a laparotomy done at the end or during my first year. And then a couple months later, she had a laparotomy done. So we have very similar scars. So we call each other scar sister.
Love it. How does working at Heartstrings differ from your previous veterinary experiences?
I think one of the biggest things that's different is the amount of time I can spend with a family. In a clinical environment, you're usually, if you're lucky, you have half an hour appointments. But even then, you don't actually have a half an hour to sit in there with the family. Here, I can take time to not have a this really rushed schedule where I can just sit there and be with them and I can talk with them, I can get to know them, I can, answer whatever questions that they need answered, and I can give them as much time as they need to be okay with whatever is going to be that next step. In a clinic, it's okay, you're in a room, somebody come get me whenever the family's ready, and I'll go in and do it. But then as soon as it's done, I have to go leave because I have another room I have to go to. Here, there's none of that. I get to be there, I get to sit, talk with them, comfort them, and there's not a rush on it. Yes, I may have another family, but at the same time, it's built in that I'm allowed to give that time for the family, and I really do. I think that's very special to be able to have those moments where you're not rushed at that time because there are so many times people are like, "Wait, I'm not ready. I need just a few more minutes." I'm like, "You take your time. I got
Mhm.
all the time in the world. You take your time," and that's really important that you kind of and actually it's really interesting that you'll see a lot of families, they take that, okay, moment, and I usually a
Mhm.
lot of times I wait for that moment for them.
What does compassion, respect, and dignity mean to you in your day-to-day work at Heartstrings?
For me, those words are the cornerstone of what I do every day. I believe that our pets, they are so much more than just pets. They are our families. They bring so much joy and so much love into our lives. And I love being able to honor that gift that they have given us with a gift of dignity at the end of their lives, making it be as peaceful as we can. I tell families that there's so many ways that people are going to grieve. There's so many ways that people deal with these kinds of things. I am not here to make any judgments. My job is to come in and support you in any way that I can and to make something where it's probably one of the worst days of your life, maybe a little less bad. It's still going to be bad, but if I can make it a little bit less bad by something I do, um, that's what my goal is. That's what I want to be able to do for each and every family that I meet.
You're so magical. I love our doctors. Love our doctors.